He didn't bark. He didn't run. He just stood there staring into the woods like something terrible was waiting. And somehow I knew this German Shepherd puppy was trying to show me something no one was supposed to find. He looked lost but not afraid. Dirty but alert. Not more than 6 months old with matted black and tan fur. Legs too big for his body and those huge worried eyes. He stood alone near the trail entrance off Cascade Lakes Highway, just west of Bend, Oregon. The sun had broken through a cloudy sky, and golden light spilled over the tree line like it was setting the forest on fire. But he didn't care. He wasn't watching the sky. He was watching the trees. It was early afternoon. I was finishing up a wellness check along the forest perimeter, about a mile from where hikers usually turn back. I'd pulled over to make a quick radio call about a washed-out footbridge. That's when I saw him. Motionless, no collar, no owner, no sound. At first I thought he might be injured, but when I got out and crouched a little, he didn't move away. He held my gaze for a second, then turned sharply toward the woods and took one step, then another. Then he stopped. He was waiting for me to follow. Something in my chest kicked. I'm part of Dashes County's volunteer search and rescue team. I've seen my share of strange calls, but I've also learned to listen to the world when it whispers, especially when it looks like this German Shepherd puppy. I clicked off the truck lights, left the engine running, grabbed my med pack, and followed him in. The forest swallowed us quick. Tree limbs closed in, ground soft with moss. He moved like he'd done this before, ducking under low branches, checking behind him to make sure I was there. We went maybe 70 yards in, and then he stopped dead. He lowered his head and whimpered. Not at me, at something ahead. I froze, scanned the ground. Nothing. Then under a thicket half covered in leaves, I saw it. A nylon backpack, torn, stained, out of place. The German Shepherd puppy circled it once, then sat beside it, still guarding. His ears were flat, body low, but not from fear. He was waiting again, and that's when I heard it. A tiny sound, faint. Not him. A cry from inside the bag. For a second I thought I imagined it. The forest was too quiet. Just the rustle of wind through pine needles, the distant groan of branches shifting above. But then I heard it again, a soft, high-pitched whimper. Human. I dropped to my knees. The German Shepherd puppy didn't move. He just pressed his body closer to the torn backpack like he was shielding it. His whole body was tight, still guarding. I reached forward slowly, whispering, "It's okay, buddy. I've got it. You did good." His eyes flicked to mine. No growl, no fear, just something I couldn't name. Something too deep for a dog that young to carry. But he carried it anyway. I pulled the backpack closer. The zipper was broken, jagged, and twisted like it had been forced. There were baby wipes and an empty bottle scattered in the top flap, and then stuffed deep inside between a blanket and a plastic grocery bag. I saw it. A baby no older than a few weeks wrapped in a faded blue towel, skin pale, lips dry, eyes squeezed shut. His chest moved barely, but it moved. Dear God, I breathed. I touched my radio. "This is Unit 7, I said quickly, voice shaking. "I need emergency medical at my location. Cascade Lakes Trail heads 70 yards west. Infant located, breathing, barely responsive." "Copy, Unit 7, dispatch replied. "Rescue en route, ETA 15 minutes. Infant, repeat." "Infant confirmed," I said, glancing at the German Shepherd puppy, guided by a stray German Shepherd puppy. He found him. The puppy didn't react to the noise. He was still watching the baby. I laid my jacket on the moss and gently transferred the tiny body out of the bag. He was light, too light. I checked his pulse. Weak, but their temperature cold, dangerously cold. I cradled him against my chest, wrapped in fleece and flannel. The puppy stepped closer, sniffed, and let out a low, broken sound. It wasn't a bark. It was grief or guilt. I looked at him. "You stayed with him, didn't you?" I whispered. The German Shepherd puppy blinked as if that was answer enough. Then he laid down next to my knee and rested his head against my boot, watching. Watch the baby, not me. The woods like he was waiting for someone else or something worse. The baby whimpered again, barely more than a breath. I pressed him gently closer to my chest, trying to share every bit of my body heat. My heart was throbbing in my ears, and I could feel the tremble in my hands. I wasn't just afraid for the baby. I was afraid of how close we might have come to being too late. The German Shepherd puppy hadn't moved. He was still curled near my boot, alert and tense, his ears twitching at every sound. Every now and then, he glanced back over his shoulder, deeper into the trees, as if waiting for something else to emerge from the woods. I kept scanning the treeline, unsure what I was expecting. Another animal, the person who left the baby, a threat, I whispered. It's okay. No one's coming now. But he didn't relax. He stayed low to the ground like a soldier on post. Whatever instincts had brought this German Shepherd puppy to that trailhead, they weren't done working yet. I looked again at the baby. A girl, tiny fingers clenched around nothing, her face red from cold. On instinct, I checked the backpack again in case there was something I'd missed. That's when I saw it. Wedged between a bottle and a plastic bag of diapers, a small, crumpled note. It was written in pencil, shaky and smudged with moisture. I can't take care of her. She's better off without me. Please don't hate me. Her name was going to be June. I felt my throat close. Not anger, not judgment, just a weight that settled deep in my ribs. Whoever left this baby hadn't vanished into the night. They'd sat here, written this, folded it, tucked it in, and left her alone. Except she hadn't been alone. The German Shepherd puppy nudged my leg with his nose like he was reminding me he was still here, still watching, still waiting. 15 minutes had never felt so long. I checked my radio again. Unit 7 status check on ETA. 3 minutes out, dispatch answered. Stay on location. Confirm infant status. Still breathing, cold, responsive to sound. I rubbed her back with gentle circles, just like I remember doing with my own niece when she was tiny. She let out a weak, shuddering hiccup. The German Shepherd puppy leaned in and licked her foot just once. Like he understood something most people would miss. Like he knew what she needed even more than I did. When the wail of sirens finally pierced through the forest edge, the puppy didn't flinch. He just rose slowly, looked back toward the shadows behind the trees, and let out a low, warning growl. The growl wasn't loud, but it cut through the stillness like a knife. The German Shepherd puppy stood now, his fur slightly bristling along his spine. His eyes were locked on a narrow stretch of underbrush just beyond the clearing. I instinctively shifted my body, shielding the baby with my arms. There's no one there, I said softly. It's just the wind. But I didn't believe it. Not entirely. The puppy stepped forward once, then stopped. Ears perked. I followed his gaze but saw nothing but dense green and shadows. No sound, no movement. Still, his posture said everything. He wasn't done protecting her. The rescue team broke through the trees behind us. 2 medics and a deputy, boots crunching over pine needles. They saw me kneeling, cradling the child, and their pace doubled. Male, infant? One medic asked breathlessly. Female, I corrected, lifting her gently into the medic's waiting arms. Probably just a few weeks, cold but responsive. They moved fast, checking vitals, wrapping her in thermal blankets, applying an oxygen mask. I answered questions automatically, my voice distant even to myself. And through it all, the German Shepherd puppy didn't budge. He stood near the backpack, chest lifted, gaze still fixed on the trees. Is this your dog? The deputy asked me. I shook my head. No, he found her. The medic holding the baby looked up. Found her? Led me straight here, I said, voice tight. From the trailhead, wouldn't leave her side. They all glanced down at him. He was young, probably no more than 6 or 7 months old, but there was something impossibly old in the way he stood. The second medic turned toward the stretcher and called in vitals, then paused. There's no collar. No, I said. No tags, no chip, probably. He's a stray German Shepherd puppy. But he stayed. One of the EMTs knelt and reached a hand toward him. The puppy didn't move, didn't growl, didn't lick. He just watched. Not suspicious, not fearful, just waiting. I moved beside him, rested a hand on his back. You're safe now, buddy. She's going to be okay. He didn't look at me. He looked past me toward that same thick stretch of forest. Do you think someone's still out there? The deputy asked. I hesitated. I don't know, I said quietly. But he does. And for the first time since I met him, the German Shepherd puppy let out a sharp bark. One single echoing command, like a soldier announcing that something wasn't finished yet. The bark echoed through the trees like a challenge. Not frantic, not frightened, just firm. It was a sound that said, pay attention. And we did. The deputy instinctively reached for his flashlight, sweeping the beam into the underbrush. The rest of the team paused, the baby already loaded into the ambulance, her faint cries now replaced with a soft hum of equipment. But the German Shepherd puppy didn't move from his spot. He remained rigid like a compass needle locked onto something invisible to us. His breath came steady, his body still, his tail held low, but not tucked, alert, anchored. I lowered my voice. What are you trying to tell us, boy? The flashlight caught on something briefly. Not a person, just a glint. Metal. Glass. The deputy stepped forward cautiously, branches crunching under his boots. I followed a few steps behind, keeping one eye on the puppy. He growled again, low and measured, and then I saw it. A second backpack, not hidden well, just tossed in a pile of leaves like someone had tried to bury it, and then changed their mind. It was partially unzipped, revealing an empty baby bottle, a scrap of cloth, and a water-damaged cell phone. Screen cracked but intact. The deputy crouched beside it, snapping on gloves. Could belong to the parent, he muttered, or whoever left her. He unzipped the bag fully. Diapers, a receipt from a nearby pharmacy, an envelope. Inside was another note longer this time. I watched for hours, but no one came. I thought someone would help. I left her with the dog because he was the only thing that stayed. I didn't know what else to do. I swallowed hard. The deputy looked up. They were here a long time. This wasn't dropped in panic. This was deliberate. And the German Shepherd puppy, he hadn't followed us. He was sitting by the first backpack again, eyes still fixed in that same direction, like his job wasn't done yet. I knelt beside him. You waited for help, didn't you? You waited until someone came. He leaned into me just slightly, then stood up and walked forward, nose to the ground. Leading again, not into the woods this time, but back toward the trail. The deputy watched him, eyebrows raised. He's tracking. He's trying to show us something, I said. Again. And without needing to speak, we followed the German Shepherd puppy, deeper into the woods, trusting that whatever he was trying to find mattered. The trees closed in tighter the deeper we went. The trail had all but vanished, replaced by thick roots and damp moss. It felt like we were stepping into another world, quiet, heavy, untouched. But the German Shepherd puppy moved like he'd walked this path 100 times, head low, eyes sharp, every step deliberate. The deputy walked just behind me, hands still resting on his belt. I could hear the static crackle of his radio, but he didn't use it. Not yet. We followed the puppy for several minutes without a word. He stopped once to sniff a fallen log, then turned left, veering off into a shallow dip in the earth. That's when we saw the tarp. It was small, olive green, half covered with pine needles and brush, a makeshift shelter, or maybe just a hiding place. And next to it was a single worn shoe. The German Shepherd puppy froze. His muscles went tense. He didn't bark, didn't growl, just stood there like a sentinel, guarding something he couldn't explain. The deputy stepped forward slowly and crouched near the tarp. He lifted one edge with his flashlight and peered underneath, empty, but recently used. The ground was pressed down, damp with sweat, a crumpled hoodie, and a disposable coffee cup with the name Jenny written in marker along the side. Someone's been sleeping here, he muttered. Could still be close. I looked at the puppy. You brought us here on purpose, didn't you? He didn't look back. His ears were high, nostrils twitching as he sniffed the air. I watched as he took 2 steps forward, then stopped again and stared into the trees. That's when we heard it. A rustle, then a cough. The deputy raised his hand, signaling me to stay back. He moved forward, flashlight beam sweeping again, this time catching on a pale face in the shadows. A woman. She looked exhausted, filthy, her hands trembling. She didn't run, didn't shout, just stood there defeated. I didn't want to leave her, she said hoarsely. I didn't know what else to do. And the German Shepherd puppy, he walked to her slowly, stopped a few feet away, and sat down, not wagging his tail, not demanding attention, just watching her the same way he watched the baby. And that's when I realized he hadn't just protected the child, he'd protected them both. The woman collapsed to her knees before anyone could catch her. Not from injury, it was something deeper. Exhaustion that clung to her like the dirt on her hands. Her eyes searched mine, not for help, but for judgment. And when they found neither, she dropped her gaze to the German Shepherd puppy sitting inches from her feet. He stayed, she whispered, even when I couldn't. The deputy approached slowly, his voice low and steady. Ma'am, we need to understand what happened. Can you tell us your name? Jenny, she said, barely audible. I didn't plan it like this, I swear. I thought just for a night, just until I figured something out. The German Shepherd puppy didn't move. He sat like a statue beside her, eyes locked onto her face, as if anchoring her to reality. There was no accusation in his presence, just the same calm he'd shown all day, the same silent faith. I stepped forward, careful not to startle her. Is the baby yours? Jenny nodded and her lips trembled. Her name's Ivy. She's 2 weeks old. I didn't mean to leave her alone. I thought the dog would bark if something happened. He's always barked for her. My throat tightened. How long have you been out here? 4 days, maybe 5. Her voice cracked. We got evicted. I had nowhere to go. No one. I tried the shelter, but they wouldn't take the dog. And I couldn't lose him too. The puppy turned his head toward her, like he understood every word. And maybe he did, because when she reached a hand toward him, he didn't pull away. He leaned into her touch gently, like he'd been waiting for her to return to herself. I left her with him while I looked for food. I didn't mean for it to be that long. Jenny's breath came in shallow bursts, but I couldn't find my way back. And when I finally did, he was gone. She was gone. I thought it was over. I looked at the German Shepherd puppy again. He found us, led us to her, wouldn't leave her side. Jenny let out a sound between a sob and a laugh. He's her guardian. He's more than just a puppy. He's all we had left. And somehow, through all the weight of her story, through all the silence in the woods, that puppy remained calm, a sentinel with fur and instincts, and a loyalty that didn't flinch, even when every human had. The forest grew quieter as the truth settled around us. Jenny sat there in the dirt, holding her own arms like she was afraid they'd disappear if she let go. The German Shepherd puppy, this silent, steadfast creature, had positioned himself between her and the world, as if shielding her from everything that might come next. The deputy radioed for backup, medical, social services, and another unit to help guide us out. I could hear the urgency in his voice, but also something softer. Respect. Even he couldn't deny what the puppy had done. I crouched beside Jenny and offered her a bottle of water. Her hands shook as she took it, but she managed a grateful nod. I didn't want this, she murmured. I just wanted to keep her safe. I just wanted to keep him. You did more than you know, I told her, glancing down at the German Shepherd puppy. You chose to keep him close, and he chose to bring us here. That hit her. Her eyes welled up. She reached out again, brushing her fingers over the puppy's neck. His fur was damp and matted from the woods, but he didn't flinch. He simply closed his eyes for a moment, leaning into her hand like a child leaning into a mother. His name's Ranger, she said softly. Named him after a stuffed animal I had as a kid. Didn't think he'd live up to it, but he did, didn't he? I smiled despite myself. He just led a rescue mission through a forest. I think he earned the title. Jenny exhaled a long, broken breath. Ivy never cried around him. Even when we had nothing, he'd curl up beside her, and she'd just stop like she knew she was okay. The German Shepherd puppy, Ranger, finally laid down next to her, his front paws crossing in the moss, ears relaxed, eyes alert. He looked like he'd been on duty for years, not months. And yet he was just a puppy, barely over 6 months old, a baby himself. And still, he had guarded them both. I stood up as the sound of voices echoed through the trees. The rescue team had arrived and Ranger. He didn't bark. He didn't run. He just turned his head slightly, making sure we saw what he saw first. He wasn't done protecting them yet. The clearing filled with voices and movement, but Ranger didn't move from Jenny's side, not until one of the medics gently stepped toward her with a soft, reassuring tone. Only then did the German Shepherd puppy rise, slow and deliberate, and positioned himself between them. Not aggressive, never aggressive, but alert, protective. "Easy, boy," I said, holding out my hand. "They're here to help." Ranger looked at me, then back at the medic. After a tense second, he took a single step to the side, allowing them through, but only just. His gaze never left Jenny. Jenny didn't argue. She let them check her, let them look at the scratches on her arms and the rawness on her heels from walking through the woods barefoot. When they asked if she'd eaten, she only shook her head. But when they asked about Ivy, her voice returned. "She's strong," she said quietly. "She doesn't fuss much, just needs a bottle and someone close. And Ranger, she always needs Ranger." Ivy was already in the hands of another medic, wrapped in a thermal blanket, her cheeks flushed from warmth and tears. But she was quiet now, watching. Her tiny hand still clutched a piece of Ursa's fur from when they were first separated. Somehow she hadn't let go. A second officer approached me. "We'll need a statement, but I don't think there's any criminal intent here. This is survival." I nodded. "And the dog, can they stay together?" He hesitated. "That's going to be up to Child Services and Animal Control. They'll want evaluations, forms. Then we'll fight for them. For another part, please stay with us and do subscribe."